Hello and welcome to part 6 of the JB4000 tutorial series from David Ward. This is, of course, David Ward. And when last I left you in part 5, we had gotten the pistons modeled out for the forearms and the upper arms. So, without further ado, let's jump in, and I think we might need to edit a little bit right there. Maybe bring it down just a little bit, just so there's no risk of not being able to bend the arm as far as we might like. So let's go ahead and jump into edit mode, and let's grab these vertices here and just drag them down a little bit. And looks like, yeah, right there. Okay, now we'll drag them. So that'll probably work, but we also need to go ahead and grab the upper arm there and extend that down a little further. We're not going to actually add a joint to that because you won't be able to really see it, so there's really no point in it. So okay, so that's all set. Let's start working on the hands now. What I'd like to do with the hands is kind of make them a part of the forearm, but kind of separated at the same time. So what I'm going to do is going to add a loop right there, and then let's grab this loop and edge slide. Actually, turn on my screencast keys again. Let's drag that up a little bit. And actually, no, okay. I was going to go ahead and get rid of that, but I'll just leave it there. Let's select all of these guys. And what I did to select multiple rows is you just hold down Shift and Control. So I'm holding Alt, Shift, and Control all at the same time and right-clicking on that edge, and it's adding to the selection. So now, on the end here, let's go and select those as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit Y, and that's going to separate this selection here into a separated mesh from the original mesh. So let's go ahead and drag that out just a bit so we have some room in here to work. We'll grab this edge here, go and extrude once, scale it down a little bit there. I'm going to add a loop up here so it's a nice seamed edge there. Okay. Add one there as well, scale that down. And now we can come back in here, and I'm going to grab that and scoot that a little closer to the edge just so it's a lot sharper, like so. And let's go ahead and add one more loop there, and we're looking from the front, so I'd kind of like this to start tapering down. So I'm going to grab this whole section here, scale it on the y-axis, make it a little skinnier, maybe drag it up a little bit as well. And this is basically going to be the wrist area. So the hand itself, which this will turn into, this is like the palm and top of the hand, we'll add the fingers to it. This will rotate, you know, once we get the rig put up, it'll rotate like this. So it'll be able to spin around, and he'll be able to, you know, control, you know, pick up things at awkward angles and things like that. So okay, let's get this hand modeled out. So we got the wrist basically done. Let's add one more loop there just so we can start modeling and have it still be in line with the forearm. I'm going to grab all of these down here, scale them down a little bit, and then tell you what, I know I say that a lot. I tell you what a lot, don't I? Anyways, we'll turn on proportional editing, just the connected, and we'll drag that out like so. And let's drag this here. This will be the start of, going back to global rotation, this will be the start of his thumb area. So let's drag that down a little bit and maybe bring this forward some, just to round it out some. One thing we can do so we don't accidentally mess up the alignment of all of these here is we can just select all of them. Actually, let's go to our front view and just select them like so. And just go ahead and hide them. And then no matter what we do here, if I move this here, even with the proportional editing turned way up, like so, say I moved it way down there, even if I do that, when I unhide, all of those are still in place. So that's one way to keep those locked down. And an even further thing you can do is, let me undo that. Undo the movement. There we go. Another thing you can do is, if we go into wireframe view, Z, you can see the rest of the model kind of as a shadowy, thing. And you can see no matter what you do, it's not going to mess with that seam. So that might be one handy way to be able to keep an eye on what's going on the rest of the model while you're still working on what's not hidden. So let's go ahead and move that out a little bit and scale that down a little further even. Let's go back to solid view. I prefer that. Okay. Now, the thumb was going to come out right here. So tell you what, let's do like we did on the shoulder and then on the thigh and the neck as well. Let's go ahead and turn off proportional editing for now. Go ahead and extrude that out and scale it down. And this will be an indentation where the thumb is going to come out. Might go ahead and put a little rubber booty thing around this as well. So we'll go ahead and do that there. And then on the fingers, originally I was wanting to do individual fingers, but I think what I'll do is have one digit for the index finger, and then for the middle finger, ring finger, and pinky, they'll just be one. So it'll essentially only have 3 fingers, including the thumb. But the last 3, the middle index, or the middle ring finger and pinky, will all be combined together. But it'll be wider, so it'll kind of look appropriate, even though there's only 3. So anyways, so let's do this. Let's grab these guys here, and I'm going to W smooth. Where's it at? Smooth. There it is. So I can get the skewedness a little bit out of it. Let's go ahead and select both of them. Smooth that. There we go. Maybe a couple of times over here. All right, now we'll scale it on the y-axis. And I'm going to go ahead and grab these guys right here and drag those over, because this is going to be where the index finger is, and this will be the combined finger there. And this will kind of be the palm area. Clean that up some. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. So let's do like we did on the thumb and grab the faces here, and let's create an indentation to where the index finger can be housed. Bring that out a little bit and scale it down. Okay, we'll do the same thing on this side. Extrude, bring it out just a bit, scale it down, and extrude back inwards. Okay, so you can kind of get an idea what that's going to look like. I would like to clean that up a little bit first. It's rather skewed. So we'll get the vertex select, and let's square this off right here. And I'll tell you what, since this is a separate piece, let's go ahead and get rid of this loop right here. We don't really need that there. So we'll go ahead and hit X and say edge loop. There we go. And actually, again, even when you do that, it doesn't affect the hidden mesh. So we got to make sure we unhide that. And then, oops, not hide, X, edge loop. There we go. So we'll go ahead and hide these again. Just get them out of the way for now. And let's go ahead and finish squaring this up. These 3 guys, move them out towards the side, and let's straighten this up. There we go, and bring this guy in too. Could probably go ahead and get rid of that loop as well, but I'll go ahead and leave it as it's part of the thumb, so that might mess things up. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and hide everything else, except the hand that we're working on. That way, there's nothing distracting. Okay, there we go. So now we can get this lined up a little bit easier. Bring this in. Just square that off like so. Maybe we'll grab these, rotate those a little bit just so it's a straighter line. Okay, now let's do the same thing on the thumb. Where'd it go? Select everything and hit A. Remember that trick from part 5, I believe? I don't recall. This one's fairly straight, fairly squared off as is, but I'll go ahead and make it a little bit more square. Okay, so here is the basic hand. Let's get the top where I guess where the knuckles would be. Let's bring that back some. And tell you what, speaking of Knuckles, let's go ahead and give him a couple. Just for the looks of it. Go ahead and grab this face there, extrude up. And then grab this one, extrude up. And then we'll go to our front view and grab both of the new ones and drag those forward. And maybe grab the... I guess I didn't grab that one, did it? There we go. Grab these guys and extrude those out as well. Let me scale it down some. Ah. Oh, I see what's going on. It connected them right there because when we extruded, they were they were right there on the same vertex, so it extruded them together. Okay, almost there. So he's got a couple of Knuckles there. I don't know. I might get rid of those once we get the fingers on. I'm not sure how I feel about them now. Let's straighten the housings for the fingers up a little bit. There we go. Okay, now, like I said, we're going to use kind of a rubbery tip, but I'm not going to use the same mesh as on the shoulders and whatnot. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. It might make things a little easier. Just make it from the actual point where we're coming out of, so it might save us a couple of steps. So let's select this whole section here and just hit Shift D. Okay. Then we're going to scale it down just a bit and then drag it back to where it's inside there, and then we'll go ahead and extrude it out. Let me go ahead and scale the middle part of it down a little bit further. There we go. Okay. And then, tell you what, let's just grab the whole thing there and drag it out. Excuse me. A little bit. And then we can do like we did on the neck, just add a couple of loops in there as ridges. So we'll add one here, maybe scale it down a bit. Add one there, scale it up a bit. There, scale it down. And then maybe one more right there. Scale it back up. Okay, so now we have kind of a rubbery part for the thumb to be at. Now let's grab this and square this off a little bit more since I was working with it. Kind of lost its squareness. Okay, you can kind of get an idea of what the thumb's going to look like. Might even make it... Sorry, my throat's so gurgly. I just had dinner. Some chicken strips. It was delicious. Okay. Okay, here we go. So, as you know, on your thumb, the base of it that connects to your hand is quite a bit larger. I keep reaching for my gaming controller and it's messing things up. There we go. Okay. The base of your thumb is quite a bit bigger than the end of your thumb, so let's Alt-O, turn the proportional editing back on. And Alt-S, scale that. Actually, just S by itself. Scale that up a bit. Okay. And then maybe grab the bottom of it and scale that down. There we go. And I'd like to make these ridges a little more defined, so let's add a loop there. And let's turn off the proportional editing. And maybe a loop. That loop, scale it down. Okay, so I think that'll work. Get my drink out of the way here. Keeps hiding the keys from me. Okay, so let's do the same thing on the fingers now. Go ahead and select this loop and this loop. By the way, anyone who was paying attention in some of my previous tutorials, let me fix that there. Sometimes I would have problems with the L button on my keyboard. Well, might be happy to know I have a new keyboard now. So no more issues with the L button. Okay, so actually, I was going to extruded that, so I just want to Shift D, duplicate it. Okay, so now we will extrude out, scale it down, go ahead and grab that inner section there. Not intersection, inner section. There we go, scale that down. Bring that out, and kind of do the same thing we did with the thumb. Just grab everything and drag it out fairly far, scale it down, and we'll add Let's add just a few loops in here at once. Remember, just scroll your mouse wheel or page up, page down to add multiple cuts in there when you hit Control R. So we'll go with 4 for now and just click them into place. And scale this one down. And this one we'll scale a little bit up, this one down, and this one up. And then tell you what, instead of adding more loops inside there, we can do like we did on the bolt head and use the bevel tool. So we'll grab each one of these guys that we want to add a crease to, and actually you just want to grab the edges. You don't want everything because then it'll add bevels to everything. We don't want that. So just grab those, and then this loop right there. There we go. And why not this guy as well? Now we'll hit spacebar and say bevel. I already had it typed in there, so there we go. And now when we pull our mouse, you can see it doubles that up automatically. So boom. Now we have a nice defined edge there. Okay, now I would like to give this, probably won't matter once we get the fingers themselves in here, but I'd like to give it a little bit more. There we go, like so. All right, now almost there. Let's grab the combined finger area here now. Get that lined up a little bit better. Saw something moving up there. I was like, what's going on? But that's just the mirror. That's the other side, the mirror modifier in effect. So no problems there at all. Let's select this and this. Shift D, duplicate that, scale it down just a tad, bring it inside some. Go ahead and extrude it way out, and then grab that middle or inner part there. Drag that out, maybe scale it down just a bit. Okay, and same thing here. We'll go ahead and add 4 loops. Let's select this very outer one and the inner section there. Scale that down. Actually turn on our proportional editing there a little bit so we can get a nice taper going on. Okay, and now I think this one we scale down. Turn that off now. Alt-O. This one we scale down. This one up. This one, actually I think I'm going the opposite way there. This one needs to go up. This one down. There we go. This one. Okay, sorry I had to pause. My throat was getting dry again. Okay, and then we'll scale that one. And we'll do the same thing we did on the finger. Just grab the edges of each one of these. And so we got one more to grab right there. And the outer one as well. And just hit spacebar and it should still be in your search thing there. And it's hit bevel. And then we'll just drag it out really small. Right, so, like so. Okay, now, same thing as with the finger. We'll just grab that, extrude in a little bit, and scale it down. So there we go. Pardon me. Okay, so now we have our little rubber tips for our fingers, or rubber connectors, I guess, for the joint there. And tell you what, again, let's unhide everything now. We've got the hand pretty well situated. Let's grab the innermost vertices on each one of these and scale it way down so there's no threat of seeing that empty hole there once we start rotating our hand. So if we rotate that on the x-axis, okay, you can see that it's not going to appear. It doesn't line up, but that's fine. So that's how it'll work. Okay, but of course the fingers will go along with it. All right, so I'm saving this, part 6, 18, 19 minutes, so we still got time. Let's go ahead and start working on the fingers themselves. Just so it'll be easier, I'm going to do the combined fingers first. So let's put well, you know, I was going to add a new cube, but I think I'll do like I did with the rubber tips. Just grab the faces there on the inside. There we go. And just Shift D, duplicate those, and then extrude those out. And let's go to our top view. Let's drag it out maybe about right there. Then we'll start adding some loops to get that straightened off there. Okay, so now the fingers, pardon me, are going to work similarly to the pivots on the piston. We're going to have bolts, or smaller bolts actually, but there will be hinges on there, letting them bend rather than keeping up with the rubber tips. Because the rubber tips, as I think I mentioned, are for full movement, like in more than one axis. But like the elbow will only bend on one axis. The inner links or the knuckles of the fingers will also only bend on one axis. So this will only bend like this. But at the origin, where they connect to the hand, they can go left and right. Then they can't really twist, but they can move more than just up and down. They can spread apart, move on the, I guess, the y-axis as well as the x-axis, but not on the z-axis. So anyways, so on the fingers themselves, we only really need a joint right there. So we don't need the rubber tips any further on the fingers. So let's tell you what, let's grab these and make them pretty flat. So front view, and then rotate just a bit. Grab that, straighten it up. Okay, and I can also start tapering these down a little bit as well. Okay, and then let's grab this loop here, and we're going to Control E, slide that up to where it's a nice square edge there on the top, and then we'll add one more so it's a nice square edge on the bottom. And then also, kind of do like we did on the hinges, on the elbow hinges, we're going to add a loop right there, and we're going to add a loop right there. And then we're going to add, we're not going to add, but we're going to extrude out these edges here. Let's go to our top view. Extrude those out. And this will be where the next section of the fingers will go. So let's add a loop there and a loop there. So now what we need to work on, go ahead and add a loop around the middle there. What we need to work on is rounding this off so that the fingers can bend with nothing in the way, so they can bend nicely around this. So we need to round that off as best we can. Let's go ahead and add a loop there and a loop on this one as well. Okay, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because we're really not going to be focusing on the fingers that much. It won't be in that much of a view, but anyways, so now let's looks kind of skewed, so let's select everything here, move that slightly up, maybe scale it down just a bit, and let's select all, Shift L or Control L, select one of those, Control L, there we go. Shift D to duplicate this. I'm going to drag that and let's rotate it 180 degrees around, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of, or actually, yeah, I was going to say get rid of both of these, but we can just get rid of one. Just delete those vertices and then this loop of vertices right there. And on this guy, we're going to detach him, Y, remember, drag him down to here, and he's going to be in the middle. So let's get rid of that loop. And let's go ahead and, before we get rid of these faces so we can glue this guy on, let's go ahead and add these faces back on here. So remember, just grab the edge select and just select, excuse me, put opposite faces at once. And there, and then on this side as well. Oops. There we go. Okay, so now I can grab the faces right there in the middle and go ahead and delete those. And then we'll grab this guy here, go to our top view, Control L, and tell you what, let's rotate him around until we can scale him nicely without skewing. So we'll scale that on the y-axis about like so, a little bit further, and then that might be about right, a little bit further. Let's see what that looks like. I think that'll work. Okay, so let's undo that. And we'll get him back up here. Rotate him around until he fits that section. Okay. And then rotate it this way. Okay, so now what we have to do is, I tell you what we can do. Go ahead and select that loop there, and just go ahead and delete it, just the vertices. And then we can just go and sew that together, just like we did when we were filling those faces back in. Once we get this one finger done, we can just duplicate it over for the index finger and the thumb. It'll be a lot easier that way. Won't have to redo all these joints and everything. Let's put another loop right there. And let's add a loop, a couple of loops in here. One right there, and then one right there. So we have a nice edge. Let's make this one a little further, closer to the edge. Edge slide. There we go. Okay. So now what I would like to do is clean up the end of it, the tip of it here. Turn on my proportional editing there. And ultimately what I like to do is have this have a curve to it, a diagonal edge to it, so it kind of resembles the three fingers together. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and copy it over as the index finger, and then we can work on it. So let's slide this back in there where it fits like Legos. There we go. And I guess we can go ahead and put a bolt on each side, just for you know, so everything for uniformity's sake, if I can say it. So we'll Shift D, duplicate that guy, bring him down here. He's going to be quite a bit smaller. We'll go to our back view, Control 1, and let's rotate him 90 degrees on the x-axis. There we go. Kind of get him into position. Then we'll have to go back into the top view to get him actually lined up because it's kind of angled. Select this guy. It looks like he needs to be angled back up there. Maybe a little bit further down. Okay, and then the tip needs to be quite a bit thinner as well. So let's select all that. Actually, I guess we could select the whole tip and just scale it down on the z-axis. Maybe round the end of it off just a bit. There we go. Okay. Now we'll go to our top view. Grab that again. Rotate it down. And put that right there. Shift D, duplicate that over to the other side. Okay. Now, also one thing I want to do before, excuse me, before we copy it over is, if he wants to pick something up, he needs to have softer fingers because the metals might, you know, if he wants to pick up an egg or something, it might crush it. So let's put a little pad on there. And the way I want to do that is just select all of these guys here. Let's just go to our front view and just select like so. And that didn't select all of them like I was wanting, but we can just select them like that. Okay, so that's okay. We'll go ahead and Shift D, duplicate that, scale it down just a little, move it up on the z-axis, up into the finger, then we'll extrude down out of the finger, and then scale it down. Actually, turn off our proportional editing. Scale that down a bit, and then we'll add a loop right there. So, about like that. But let's bring it on around the tip of the base of the fingers. So let's go ahead and select the whole thing and just drag it down so we can control it a little easier. Go to our view where it's lined up. And then we'll grab this and just kind of bend it like so, then maybe add a loop there. Drag it down and maybe drag these about like that maybe. Maybe add another loop in here just so I can round off a little better. Okay, so we'll select that and now move that up into place. Okay, so now he can grab something and not break it or scratch it. Okay, so that's that finger. 30 minutes almost. Shouldn't take. We're almost done with this. Just hold on, hold tight. Select all those. And And we'll Shift D, select, move them down, drag them around to where they're more or less straightened up like this. And then let's straighten up the end of this finger. Okay. Then let's grab everything except for the bolts. I don't want to mess with those, but we'll Control L. Scale this on the Y-axis now until it's about even with where it will go as the finger. Okay. Then we'll move these bolts in, bolt heads in, like so, and like so. Okay, and then we can select everything and move the index finger into place there, out of the little rubber boot, maybe a little smaller even. Yeah, it's gonna have to be smaller. Make it a little smaller and then compromise and make the boot a little bigger, because I don't want it to be too small compared to the other one. So let's select all these guys on the end there and scale those up. And we'll turn on the proportional editing connected and just scale that all up. Maybe grab the edges. I guess we could add another loop there just so it squares off a little better. And over here. There we go. There we go. That looks all right. Bring this corner down here a little bit. Ah, got part of the actual finger selected. There we go. Okay. Alright, so that finger looks alright. Let me go ahead and save this. And now I'm going to go ahead and, like I wanted to do before, kind of angle this off. Like so. Okay, so now you can kind of see what I was going for with that. And we're kind of running over time. I'd like to go ahead and do the thumb too, but I don't want to bore you too much more. It's been a lot of work on this part 6 here. So I'll tell you what, we'll do the thumb in part 7. So let's zoom out so we can kind of get a look of what it's starting to look like. Might end up making the whole hand bigger, because I would like to have bigger fingers on there. But for now, that's going to be it for part 6. So go ahead and save. Oops, Control S. Save and save. Okay. Thanks for watching. Catch you in part 7.